Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a snowy Montreal on this early Tuesday morning. Great to be with you. I am Sean Starr. Welcome to another edition of the Sean Starr Show, the live variety. I'm going to try to do this after every Montreal Canadiens game day, so bookmark this. Make sure you check back often on the page so I can at least give you a heads up with plenty of time to spare, right? So, looking forward to more content related to the Montreal Canadiens as the week unfolds. We'll be dipping our toes into the Uri Slafkovsky waters and how concerned you are. I'm going to try to calm the nerves on Slafkovsky in a second. We'll also talk about Jake Evans and his value as we have some news that's come across, courtesy of Renaud Lavoie of TVA Sports here in Montreal, reporting on all things Jake Evans and that very, very fascinating dossier. And then, of course, we'll get into the heater that Kirby Dach is on, Lane Hutson's emergence as an elite-level playmaker, as he now leads all rookies with 30 points after his performance in the come-from-behind win over Vancouver at the Bell Center, as the Montreal Canadiens return to home ice off their 4-2 six-game road trip with losses to both Columbus and Chicago, and wins over Florida, Tampa Bay, Vegas, and then Colorado. As lo and behold, can you believe it? Like, can you believe this? Let's transition over because I need you to see it with your own eyes so that your eyes can tell your brain what we're watching. Are you ready? Don't fall over. Are you standing watching me? Sit down. You need to sit down. Why? Look at this! Look at this! The Montreal Canadiens are a wild card team today. Holy shnikes. What's happened? The Montreal Canadiens with 41 points, good with Pittsburgh with 41. But the Montreal Canadiens have a game in hand, and look at this number that I highlight right here. 19 wins. Look at this number. Look at this number. 17 for these Pittsburgh Penguins. Who are these Pittsburgh Penguins? This is also another impressive number. Look at this mamma jamma here. Minus 14 goal differential. How long ago was it that the Montreal Canadiens were one of the worst defensive teams, one of the worst goal differential teams in hockey? But lo and behold, Sam Montembeault, Jakub Dobeš, Alex Carrier, and the Montreal Canadiens are rolling to the tune of, having a share of the wild card. They are the second wild card team in the NHL's Eastern Conference after that 5-4 overtime win over Vancouver yesterday. And look, I went through it, right? Because, again, I'll transition over. Let's look at the wild card standings very quickly here. So you got Montreal with 41, Pittsburgh with 41, but the Canadiens have the edge. They have more wins, and they've played one less game than Pittsburgh has. Ottawa's got 38 games played, and they have 40 points. Columbus has 40 games played. They have 40 points. So let's just stick in this window here. Philadelphia, Detroit, the Rangers, Islanders, Sabres, whatever. We'll leave them for another day. Let's stick to this Canadiens, Penguins, Senators, and BJ's kind of little four-team sample size, right? So Montreal and Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh and Columbus are going to play each other coming up tonight. So the Penguins and BJ's are going to play tonight. Ottawa plays at Detroit tonight. Columbus plays at Philadelphia, plays at Pittsburgh, and then on Thursday, they play against Seattle. The Ottawa Senators this week play Thursday as well. They play Buffalo. That'll be an interesting game to see how that unfolds. Pittsburgh, after they play Columbus, they're back in action Thursday when they host Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. So chances are, by the time you're watching me live on Saturday morning, because I will be here at 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning, Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. too, Eastern Standard Time. I will be here live as I am right now, and we will be reacting to the Canadiens' Friday night result from Washington, where they play at Washington. And then, of course, Sunday morning, we'll react to the Canadiens game on Saturday night when the team is back home. So they played last night. They're off for the rest of the week until they play Ovechkin and the Capitals on Friday, and then they're back home on Bell Center Ice on Saturday. So that's kind of what we're doing. In between, I'll have lots of content on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday concerning Jake Evans, Uri Slafkovsky, and Jakub Dobeš. So all of that's coming up right here on this channel. So the Montreal Canadiens shocking the world, doing what they wanted to do from the onset of this season, right? Which was to be in the mix. They spoke proudly, they spoke loudly, they spoke with their chests about how much they wanted to be in the playoff mix. And as we hit the halfway point of the season on Friday night, after Friday night, the Canadiens will begin the second half of their season. Game 41 comes at you fast and furious on Friday. So We will get into the second half of the season. We'll grade the first half of the season, why the Montreal Canadiens have turned the corner. And I'm very curious to get your reaction as well. Why do you think the Montreal Canadiens are a completely different version of themselves? From the first 6-7 weeks of the season, why do you think the Montreal Canadiens have turned around their compete level? Why they've turned around the goal differential? Now, I mean, not one of the better ones in the NHL, but nevertheless, not the worst one in the National Hockey League. And I think I have some reasons to that. I'm going to get to your comments in a second, but I want to talk about last night's result and what an awesome game that was for a variety of reasons. Number one, I've been a big proponent of, I want to see the Montreal Canadiens not look so young all the time. And by that I mean, be the team that doesn't react to whatever shift they're competing on any given night. Don't wait until the first period comes over to have your strategic counterpunch. I want to see Montreal come out there and be this team that says, listen, you want to match us tonight? This is how we're going to play. Match our level or get left behind. That's what I want to see from Montreal. And I'm getting what I want. And I'm an only child. And I always try to get what I want. It's what I'm used to. And so to see Montreal come out and approach a game like last night with the Vancouver Canucks, who are a pretty good road team, and they were coming off a 3-0 shutout loss to Nashville, and they're swirling in this dramatic water of JT Miller and Elias Pettersson and how much they don't like each other and how that's affecting the team morale and the vibes around the Vancouver Canucks. So Vancouver's got their hands full with a lot of things. They're not playing great. JT Miller's having a bad season. There's friction between their two star players. How do they resolve this? I don't give a bleep. That's their business. Let's concentrate on what Montreal did. And Montreal came out and played a physical brand of hockey. And Caden Goalie has brought that physical element to his game now. He has once again found another way to be a better version of himself. And like Lane Hutson, only scratching the surface. Caden Goalie is a pillar on the Montreal Canadiens' defense, is only getting better, and now he's playing with more physicality. And if you were with me on Sunday morning when I did my live after the Canadiens' incredible come-from-behind shootout win over Colorado, I was talking about Uri Slafkovsky, I was talking about Arbor Xhekaj, and the belief that I think Uri Slafkovsky can learn from Arbor Xhekaj's maturation and evolution as an NHL player from a guy who I thought, I don't know if he has an NHL future, to I'm glad this guy has leveled up his game because, man, he is a valuable asset to the Canadiens. I talked about, and I use this expression, controlled recklessness. And I like the way Montreal played and brought that physical element. They were controlled. They were controlled for most of the night. Now, there were some bum interference calls. Cole Caulfield took an immature penalty. Didn't cost his team. But nevertheless, the Montreal Canadiens went on to win that game and came from behind down 3-1. Down 3-1. I mean, how long ago was it that you and I were here reacting to the Canadiens getting absolutely smoked by the Pittsburgh Penguins? Remember that game? That was a 9-2 beatdown. Do you remember when that game was? Not that long ago, December 12th, when the Canadiens lost 9-2 to the Penguins. So there was that element, right, about they're down 2 goals to Vancouver. Sam Montembeault didn't look like he had the best version of himself on Bell Center Ice last night. But they stuck to it, man. They stuck to it, and they didn't doubt themselves. They actually did the opposite. They believed in themselves to the point where they were able to chip away, and the best players on the Montreal Canadiens emerged and delivered consistency, because that's one thing that this team has done from October right through the result on January 6th last night. The depth players of the Montreal Canadiens have consistently been their best players. And look, Brendan Gallagher's, it's been a minute since he scored a goal. Yoel Armia is a dirty minute eating player, and I love the way this guy plays. Christian Dvorak sprinkles in some offense, some face-off wins every now and again. The Canadiens won almost 60% of the draws last night. That was huge, especially when they're working on the power play, where they can start with the puck, have puck control, and that power play scored twice, including the overtime winner off the stick of Nick Suzuki. And Lane Hutson, instrumental. Lane Hutson was all over the place last night. And now with 30 points, 3 goals, 27 assists, Lane Hutson leads all rookie scorers, not defensemen, rookie in the NHL today. Lane Hutson leads all of them with 30 points. And I'm proud to say I believed it last week, and I believe it even more today. Lane Hutson is your Rookie of the Year. He is going to win the Rookie of the Year. I am almost sure of it. Now, I mean, it was the 50-point threshold. If he crossed the 50-point threshold playing over 22 and a half minutes on average a night, I don't care what Michkov did. On a rebuilding team that really wasn't that competitive, and now they're competitive, and he's integral to the Canadiens being really legitimately in the mix. Was it 2 weeks ago? They were like 5-6 points out. We're like, oh, in the mix. No. They're the second wildcard team today, you guys. The Montreal Canadiens are the second wildcard team today. And Lane Hutson was all over the place, instrumental in the 3 biggest goals in the come-from-behind win on Monday night. Instrumental. And he wasn't even trying to score a goal when it went off Quinn Hughes and into the back of the Canucks net. And then helped setting up the game-winning goal off the stick of Nick Suzuki, who's back on the score sheet, who's playing more or less at a point-a-game pace as we get ready to bust through into the second half of the NHL season on Saturday night. Game 41 of the Canadian season comes fast and furious Friday live on TSN 690. So the Canadiens with 41 points right there with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's playing tonight. They play Columbus. Now, Columbus also in the mix with 40 points. The Penguins' week consists of the Edmonton Oilers on Thursday. The Ottawa Senators that are on the road, they're at Detroit tonight. And then play against Buffalo on Thursday, BJ's and Penguins tonight, and then it's Seattle for Columbus on Thursday. That's the little window if we're talking about the Canadiens and the 3 other teams that are well within reach of each other in what should be an absolute roller coaster ride taking us down the stretch. Now, let's get to some of your comments this morning. Good morning. Nick, we are in the running, baby. You're damn right, brother. Let's go. Same team with progress, says Audio Murphy. No doubt. The league is a mishmash of mediocrity. Go Habs, go. And that's the other thing, too. Like, we've learned this. We have learned this together. The Montreal Canadiens are no different from most teams in the NHL. On any given night, you can be beaten. You can be had. It happens every single day in the NHL. So, like, you look at a game on paper, you're like, well, this team shouldn't lose. Well, they might, because that's parity in the National Hockey League. Welcome to Gary Bettman's NHL. What is up, everybody? What's up, Captain? Good to see y'all. Mark, Goalie is blossoming into an elite shutdown defender with physical force. Totally agree, Mark. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the view today. Go Habs, go. Second wild card, baby. Let's go. And as I mentioned already, yeah, the physicality, that element that Caden Goalie brought, and controlled recklessness, which I'm a huge fan of, set the tone early. And this is like, sometimes when I use words like immature or mature, it's not so much because they moon the bus on the side of the highway like a 10-year-old. No. I'm talking about decisions on the ice. And I like that, Caden Goalie, he showed us this very early on. If you remember back to his rookie season when he's playing Crosby for the first time and he's playing McDavid for the first time, and RDS reporters are asking Goalie about, oh, you nervous you got Crosby today? He's like, man, I treat this like any other game. It's just another game for me, Like, try not to be starstruck by the opposing players. And that, to me, spoke volumes about where he's at mentally and how the game comes to him, and he slows it down deliberately. So I don't think it's a coincidence that this far into his career with the Montreal Canadiens, that now he's brought a physical element to his game. Waiting to see, kind of playing out the room, see how it goes, what's the angle, what's the vibe like, feel like the game slows down for a second, and then boom, he can bring the physicality to the Montreal Canadiens blue line, which is desperately needed. Think back to when the Canadiens were making noise in the playoffs in the COVID year and the All-Canadian North Division, right? Remember Ben Sherratt? Remember Shea Weber? Remember how hard they were to play against every night, protecting Carey Price's crease? It's not a coincidence that the Montreal Canadiens, you can get into somebody's head, man. You can. If you're tough to play against, you can psychologically have an impact on a game, let alone a series, And it reminds me of this funny anecdote that my friend and former NHLer Bobby Dallas was fond of telling us, and I'll relay it to you now quickly. On a game night, and Bobby was a defenseman. This is back in his days when Bobby Dallas was patrolling the blue line in Anaheim. And if he knew that he was going to be, it's going to be an interesting night tonight, they got some tough forwards on the other side. And right off the hop, Bobby would love to tell this story, and I don't think I'm going to forget it. He would test the opposing player, knowing that, okay, I'm going to be battling this guy for 20 minutes tonight. What am I in store for? You know what Bobby would tell us? right off the hop, if the first chance he had to confront this opposing player, he'd give him the business, borderline dirty, maybe elbow gets up, maybe cross-check him in the kind of neck, high shoulder area, just to see what the pushback was like. And if that player he did that to kind of turned the other cheek and skated away, Bobby knew he had an edge. But if that player that he took that shot with came back and gave it back even harder, Bobby knew what he was in store for, right? So that's kind of what I see in the Montreal Canadiens. And that's what I see in Kaiden Guhle. Waiting, playing the slow game, waiting to see how the league develops, how Kaiden Guhle adjusts to the speed, and then brings another dynamic element to his game. And he is a foundation piece, Kaiden Guhle is. And I felt this way for a long time, and I know I'm not alone, that I find that Kaiden Guhle is underrated even here in this market. Why? Because, tell me I'm wrong. Like when we talk about the rebuild, right? We talk about, Uri Slafkovsky integral to the rebuild. Lane Hutson integral to the rebuild. David Reinbacher, what's he going to be like? Jacob Fowler in goal, what's he going to be like? We don't often talk about Kaiden Guhle. You know why? Because the guys who do the quiet, fundamental things very well and do them consistently, they're boring because they're almost flawless. And Kaiden Guhle, he's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody plays a perfect game. But fundamentally, I find him very, very strong. And he does not make a lot of mistakes. And I love the physical element that he's bringing to the game. Let's get back to the chat. Rick Springhetti, proud member of the Sean Starr Show. And that reminds me, you can be like Rick Springhetti and live your best life. You can be a member of the Sean Starr Show. You can join this channel. You get access to membership perks, loyalty badges, custom emojis that I've made. You get member shoutouts, priority replies, early access to all my videos. You get content literally one day before the full release. We'll do some live chats and some members-only live streams. So we have that to look forward to together. So let's shout out Rick Springhetti. I like that Martin St. Louis didn't punish Caulfield for his penalty last night. You have to find that middle ground between holding players accountable and not having them play nervously. Caulfield earned a break. I don't disagree with that, Rick Springhetti, and thank you for bringing that up to the table today because we were watching the same game. Cole Caulfield, like I said off the hop, I like that the Canadiens brought a physical element to the hockey game last night, but you know what else? Cole Caulfield took a little bit of a beating. So did Lane Hutson. These guys were primary targets. So welcome to the National Hockey League when you're a upper echelon player of that. Cole Caulfield is 7th in the National Hockey League, or tied for it, with his 22 goals. Sam Reinhart and Kyle Connor, respectively, all three tied with 22 goals this week. Lane Hutson, as we mentioned, 30 points, leading all rookie scorers. He's blown away rookie defenseman in terms of points. But yeah, you're an upper echelon player. You are a player that when the Canadiens play Washington and the Capitals are being coached up about, okay, here's the tape, here's who we're playing tonight, can't let these guys beat you. Who do you think they're talking about? They're talking about Cole Caulfield, they're talking about Lane Hutson, and they're talking lately about Kirby Dach too. And so when you are that guy and you're brought into the video room because you have game-breaking abilities, you're going to get targeted. You have to get targeted. You need to be softened up. I can't have Lane Hutson crushing me every night. And what did he do? Despite getting, physically targeted multiple times by the Canucks yesterday. Dropped 3 points and was integral in the 3 most important goals on the Montreal Canadiens night. Keith Green. Hockey is meant to be played. Hit the other team hard, clean. And if it's dirty, you want to have to answer for your dirty play. So yeah, I don't disagree. I like the physical element of the game. I like that it's really what Montreal brought. I like that very much. You don't play your best player 13 minutes. Thank you, Captain. Lots of comments coming. I'm trying to filter them out as quickly as I can here. Aces Cafe suggests how quickly we forgot Chicago handed us our butts. I don't know if that's true. The Canadiens shot 40 pucks on Friday in Chicago and lost 4-2. Some people suggested it was a trap game. Some people suggested the Canadiens got goalied, but nobody's going to go 82-0. You know what? I don't care so much about the Chicago game anymore. You know why? Because of how they comported themselves in Colorado the very next day, less than 24 hours after they played and lost to the Blackhawks. They were all over it against Colorado and shut that team down in a 2-1 defensive-minded shootout game. And remember, Colorado had won, 6 in a row? They hadn't lost the game when leading after 20 or after 40, and they hadn't lost an overtime game yet. And Canadians gave them all of those in one sequence, in one game. So that, to me, helps ease the pain of losing to Chicago. Ça arrive. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire avec ça, là? No one's going 82-0. Lots of comments coming in. Thank you so much. Armia is gone in 2 months, along with Dvorak and Savard, and hopefully, Jake Evans. Well, we found our first Jake Evans hater in the chat today, and that's fine. I appreciate that, Morgan, because it's a nice transition into what I want to do now. Let's talk about the Jake Evans news, because there is some news. Renaud Lavoie of TVA Sports had this to say yesterday. So let's go through it quickly. I've decided to translate it from French to English to better serve some of my outside of the province viewers today and beyond on this channel. Thank you, by the way, for watching, commenting if you do. So Renaud Lavoie, Montreal Canadiens reporter, has been on the Montreal Canadiens beat for a long time. And by all accounts, a source close to Renaud said that, obviously wants to stay anonymous, and that both parties, the Montreal Canadiens and Jake Evans, want to hook up in a non-sexy way, in a business way, to be more precise. They both like each other, and they kind of want to stay together. I don't know when, and I don't know the date, but there's a wedding coming to make sure Jake stays in the organization. Now, Jake, of course, got married this past summer. And so I just want to clear the air on what I think there's some confusion here. Renaud Lavoie is not reporting that the Montreal Canadiens and Jake Evans are close to a deal. That's not what he's reporting, and I've seen some people refer to that or kind of stretch the story to say that a deal is imminent. No. Renaud Lavoie is saying, according to his source anyway, that the two teams, they dig each other, they're down with each other, and if they can meet, and they want to. And one of the other things here, and look at this number, right? We could talk about this here. It won't be Philip Deneau's contract of $5.5 million per year. So, like, Jake Evans is going to double up what he's making now. When it comes to a future contract for Jake Evans, if you told me today that Montreal and Evans mutually agreed to a 4-year, $16 million deal, I am locked in, I am good to go. Anything beyond that, I'm not so sure. Because when Jake Evans hits his UFA status, if he gets there, he's going to be 29 years old. And I'm not saying at 33 you're done and dusted, but I don't think he's going to get another 4-year kind of contract. And I don't think Jake Evans, if I were his agent, I would not recommend him taking a 2 or 3-year deal. My client, who's going to hit unrestricted free agency and make a long-term commitment to a team, wants financial security for generations to come. And I think he's earned that. So if I'm Ken Hughes, this is what I do. I go, Jake, we love you here. We can do something special, and you are going to be a part of that special something. You can tell by, I see you guys on Instagram all the time. You're friends off the ice. You're friends in the off season. Clearly, you have brothers on this team that love you and then go to battle with you every single night. And here's the money point, Jake. Jake, you're the man, bro. There isn't a better shorthanded player on this team than you. You're one of the best shorthanded players in the National Hockey League, Jake. Undeniable. And I want to keep you. I don't want to lose you. And let me tell you something, Jake. You stay here in Montreal, man, you've got a guaranteed role for the next few years. You are going to be the number 3 center on the Montreal Canadiens. And you're not going anywhere. We can mix and match. I know we have guys coming, Jake. I know Oliver Kapanen's coming. I know Michael Hage is a few years away. I know Owen Beck's doing good things in Laval. And I know they're part of the future. Jake, you're part of the now. You're part of the future too. We need you, Jake. Your defensive abilities, your playmaking, your play reading, your puck tracking. I don't know what's going to happen, Jake. Maybe someone's going to offer you more money. And I'm not saying don't take it. But consider this, Jake. By the way, I'm role-playing Ken Hughes. Consider this, Jake. You stay here. Here's 4 years. And I'm going to give you $4 million a year, Jake. $16 million. I wish I could give you more. But we're doing something special here, Jake, and you're a part of that. And, maybe you'll get more money. Maybe you'll go play a different conference with a different team. And maybe you'll be the fourth line guy. Maybe you won't. Now you're going to have to integrate yourself in a new city with new teammates in a role that you're not so sure of. They could tell you, oh, Jake, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that. Jake, you know Montreal, brother. You know what it's like here. You're settled in. We're going to pay you. You are going to get paid. But you're also going to be an integral piece to something special. And Jake, you can see it. Look what we're doing now. Look what you're doing. Look at the season you're on. And I think that kind of sell job, selling Jake Evans on his role, how important he is, how much he means to the team, along with, here's a bag of money, Playboy, I think it might work. So I just want to remind people, here's the Renaud Lavoie piece in TVA Sports, tvasports.ca. One of Renaud Lavoie's sources saying the cap is going to continue to go up. People who say in 2 years it's going to be $100 million. Over 3 years, if you give Evans 1.5 more, nobody's going to cry. And yes, he is having the best season. Everybody loves a player who shoots at 30%. And he's having a season. And listen, the points are the points. It's a bonus. But for me, I'm a big law of averages guy. And I think Jake Evans, in terms of the law of averages, will consistently be an elite puck tracking, shorthanded specialist who's great defensively because he works his butt off all of the time. And if the goals come, the goals come. But I'm not sitting here thinking, oh man, here we go. It's Phil Deneau 2.0. The offense is ready to bust out of Jake Evans. I'm happy to have the goals. I'm happy to have the points. But Jake, one thing I expect from you is to play great defense and be a great shorthanded player. I expect that from you. I don't expect goals and points all the time. If they come, like I said, great. Hunky-dory, I love it. Life is great, grand, wonderful. But one thing I can expect from Jake Evans, especially if he gets this contract, great shorthanded, working hard all the time. Because if Jake Evans doesn't bust his hump and doesn't work hard, Jake Evans doesn't have the talent to play. Full stop. He's not a top six forward. And guys who play third line checking roles, fourth line grinder roles, they always have to work hard or else they do not get the minutes. And so I'd like to see Jake Evans rewarded. I'd like to see Jake Evans stay. And yeah, you can't get into your feelings, can't get into your emotions. Hard to do sometimes, but that's why Ken Hughes is in the position he's in. Let's get to some of the comments. Lots of comments coming in here today. Please. Evans is not stupid enough to take a promise of a role from a GM. He knows that it's up to a coach, and if he has a bad season, he's the first to go. I'm not so sure where that comment comes from, because I could tell you for a fact that when players are looking for new homes or players are perhaps being lobbied to join a new team, I promise you, with every fiber of my being, they ask what the role is. They want to know. They want to know what the role is. 100%. You think some guy's going to take $12 million and he's not going to be on the power play? Like, ça marche pas de même. They want to know what their role is. It's almost like that in every real serious sport. So, to me, I've chosen to believe, and listen, your opinion is your opinion. You don't see it that way? Okay, great. I'm not saying I'm right. I think I'm a little bit more right than you, but we'll see. That if you're Jake Evans, knowing what your role is going to be with a team that you know inside and out, that drafted you, that developed you, you played in their minor league system, and now they're going to give you a contract as an unrestricted free agent and reward you for all your hard work? Yes, I think knowing that your role is locked in here and that they don't have to rush Kapanen or they don't have to rush Owen Beck to be a player that perhaps they're not ready to become yet. So, to me, it's very logical. It allows Owen Beck to slow down. It allows his development to continue at a nice pace without any expedited process about it. Same thing for Oliver Kapanen. And everything can be moved around. If Owen Beck's on a heater, maybe he plays up. If Oliver Kapanen's on a heater or not on a heater, maybe he moves over to the wing. So, you can move pieces on this chessboard around. It's just, what players do I want? And Jake Evans is a guy I want. He will still cost a lot of money. I don't have comps for you, Captain Snarble. Great name, by the way. I love Captain Snarble. I don't have comps for you, right? But I do know this. He's a small cap hit, and he's going to be 29 in his UFA age. And I'm comfortable telling you, I think Jake Evans, at the bare minimum, doubles his cap hit. Bare minimum. I think you're looking at between 3.2 on the low end and $4 million per year on the high end for Jake Evans. Okay? And yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. I get it. But the cap's going up. And guys are coming off the books. Don't forget. Like Christian Dvorak, I do not believe will be back next season. So that frees up a spot and it frees up money. What the Canadiens do with Yoel Armia, to be determined. What they do with David Savard, to be determined. Those are the other two UFAs that Ken Hughes is going to have to deal with. And like as I talk to you today, yes. Now, I'm going to shock you again. Make sure you're sitting down. I'm going to show you the standings. The Canadiens have the second wildcard spot in the NHL's Eastern Conference. So, like, if they're still around there, and I'm talking to you on the 7th of January, we got all of Feb to play. You have all of January to play, all of February to play, and then it's the first week of March for the NHL trade deadline. So there's a lot of games to be played. And if Ken Hughes and his team are still legitimately in the mix like they are right now, it forces the GM's decision-making on what he does with these three UFAs. So, and even if, because I believe this, I believe the Canadiens are a very, very tight team. I believe they really like each other, and I believe they really want to do something special together, and they're trying to cook it up. And I believe they like and respect David Savard. I think this team still needs veterans. And, call me an idiot. But I would even risk losing David Savard for absolutely nothing than trade him for a third-round pick or whatever the return might be if David Savard's game doesn't get any better. I don't know what the return's going to be in this March 7th trade deadline transaction involving David Savard and Ken Hughes. I'd rather lose this guy for nothing if his brothers on the Canadiens want him and feel better because he's there. Canadiens have picks. So it's going to be fascinating to see what Montreal does, what their compete level forces Ken Hughes to do, as the season plays itself out. More comments coming in. Thank you so much, everybody. Morgan says, Kapanen and Beck are ready now. My boy Sean Campbell says Owen Beck is more or less ready. Sean Campbell, who's the voice of the Laval Rocket on TSN 690, tells me that he's like a Jake Evans with better scoring. And the other thing, too, I've seen it already in the chat. Let's not overpay for a 7th rounder. I mean, he's been in the NHL. He's 28 years old. Who cares where he was drafted? Like, once you're in the show, brother, once you've made it to the show, nobody cares where you're drafted anymore. Where was Brendan Gallagher drafted? What kind of contract did he get? So I'm not so sure. Philip Saint Laurent believes Devo is gone. Armia may stay. Armia's a tough one, man. Armia's a tough one. Like, Finland loves him. He's on their national team for the Four Nations. He plays dirty minutes. He mucks it up in the corner. He wins more battles than he loses. He's a valuable piece to the Montreal Canadiens. I'm inclined to seeing kind of what he's like. But listen, he's not an untouchable player. And if, GMs look at him and say, I need this guy to grind out dirty minutes in the playoffs for me, well, make me an offer. But I'm not giving him away for nothing. I'll tell you that right now. Manny says, the Barron trade looking genius. No kidding, brother. That, to me, is one of the main reasons why Montreal looks the way they have looked now. Winners of 8 of their last 10. They're 5-1 in their last 6 games. They're crushing the goal differential. They were the worst goal differential team in hockey. Now they're minus 14. And having players that can come in and that can be reliable are so valuable because I don't think it's physical. I think it's here. And by that I mean knowing that you have somebody behind you in an Alex Carrier or a Jakub Domisch that could do their jobs, man. Because like anything else, like I'm going to assume we're all adults here, okay? Age-wise, not maturity-wise, age-wise, because I'm still sometimes a 16-year-old. like to have a good time all the time. But like mentally speaking, sometimes it's a grind. Like when you go into work, and let's say you've had an office mate for a minute. You know their ins and outs. You know how they like their coffee. You know what time they come in. You know that they tend to be quiet in the morning, right? You've got that back and forth because you got the reps in together. But then you get a new person in, and next thing you know, they're loud and boisterous in the morning, and they don't drink coffee. They drink a mocha tea or some nonsense like that. And you're like, whoa, what is going on here, man? You're throwing my vibe off. The routine is out of whack. Now I got to readjust, recalibrate, right? It's a pain in the butt. It's a trust issue. So like when Caden Primo couldn't find his game, what do you think that was like psychologically for the guys in front of him? Knowing that they had zero threshold to make a mistake. And what about Justin Barron? Right, you saw that Nashville Predators beat writer over the weekend tweet out, I'm not so sure about this Barron guy. He's all over the place. Defensive zone coverage, I'm not so sure. Well, welcome to Justin Barron. That's his game right now, as he's lacking some confidence, and maybe he'll get it back. Which takes us to Carrier, which takes us to Dobesh. That these two players, you know what the common theme shared between Alex Carrier and Jakub Dobesh is? Peace of mind. They provide it. Where now Caden Goalie and Lane Hutson and Arbor Jackeye and Jaden Struble, who I thought played a great game Monday against Vancouver, now these guys can worry about their JOB, man. They can worry about where they are on the ice, knowing that behind them or their partner is good enough. I don't have to worry anymore. I think Caden Primo and Justin Barron more specifically, was part of, and I've said this before, a real-life experiment on the ice. Figuring out, okay, is Jackeye the man? Is Barron the man? Is Struble the man? Let's see. And we've seen Justin Barron out. Alex Carrier in. Stability. Balance. Strong execution of fundamentals. The Canadiens rolling 4 good lines. And that's why I'm hesitant to bring up Emil Heineman, play him up the lineup. Because he's part of a very good, consistent line, doing the best he can with the minutes he's been given. Or earned, I should say. And watching Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield be regularly the Montreal Canadiens' best players. Juraj Slafkovsky, for all the hate he's gotten. Juraj Slafkovsky has 7 points in his last 10 games. He was very good yesterday. Nice pass from Juraj Slafkovsky, making it happen again. But sometimes he doesn't push guys around. Sometimes he looks soft. Sometimes his defensive zone coverage isn't good enough. What he has going for him is 7 points in his last 10, and he's 20 years old. And the Montreal Canadiens have, right now, and I don't think they're going to have it on the weekend, but right now the Canadiens are the second wildcard team in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, Morgan, mocha tea, if that's what I said. I don't know, matcha, whatever it's called. I guess it's matcha. My apologies. Matcha. I don't like it. Tastes like grass. Captain Schnarble, Sean, do you think if the Canadiens are in a playoff spot at the deadline, will the Habs take a swing at a big fish or stay the course? So here's what I think about that. Thank you, Captain Schnarble. I think it's a delicate balancing act. I think the Montreal Canadiens have some good soldiers, and you want to be careful who you bring in to not disrupt the flow. And while the Canadiens are competing and looking better in all facets of their game, I don't think the Montreal Canadiens changed their minds about, oh, wow, we're in the mix now. Let's move off those goalposts if we're not liquidating draft picks or good assets, so on and so forth. I think the Canadiens, regardless of where they are in the standings, will stick to that plan. Like, they're not going to move like a blue chipper in their minds, right? Whether it's, I don't know, excuse me, take your pick of a Canadiens blue chip player that we really haven't seen yet. Like, I don't think Jacob Fowler is going to be on the block because the way Jakub Dobesh has been playing. I'm just thinking out loud, right? At least I hope that doesn't change the plan, because these are the guys that you're bringing with you. These are the guys that got you to the dance, so you better stick with them. And it doesn't also mean, to your question, that if, in the estimation of Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon, that there's a good veteran, maybe a UFA type player that could come in that you think will have a smooth transition and can find symmetry on the Montreal Canadiens, then I think you can make that move. But I do not, and I strongly believe this, that Ken Hughes is not going to move off his plan of the rebuild, the timeline, where they are at. Because today, on the 7th of January, because the Canadiens have won 8 of 10 and 5 of their last 6, that Ken Hughes is like, yeah, okay, who's available? Let's go get Elias Pettersson in Vancouver. Let's make some big moves. You know, it's the Rangers selling everybody. Let's go see who they have that we can get. No, I don't think Ken Hughes will rearrange the priorities here as he, along with Jeff Gorton, remain the architects of this rebuild. At least I don't think so. That's my point of view. Joe the Snoop. What up, Joe the Snoop? Snoop. One thing I like about Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton, they don't just consider skill. Yeah, we could say that about Marc Bergevin too. Like, Bergevin loved character guys, right? That was his big thing. Doing lots of, he loved waivers. He loved Brendan Gallagher. Loved all these guys. Kyle Downey asks, who goes between the pipes Friday night? That's a great question. I was thinking about this last night, Kyle. I was thinking about Jakub Dobeš last night. You guys think of my haircut? Got a nice little haircut yesterday. I was thinking about Dobeš last night, thinking about, I love his attitude. Like, Jakub Dobeš never believes that he's the underdog, right? Like, Jakub Dobeš believes he's the favorite and he wants to win. Doesn't care who he's playing against, and I love that attitude. And remember, if you watch the game Friday against Florida, when Dobeš made his NHL debut, see how aggressive he'd be? He'd be, like, right at the lip of the blue paint. Right away, the first time he froze a puck in his NHL career, I could see him, he's saying something to the referee. And I'm like, dude, rookies don't talk like that in the National Hockey League. And then I saw him use his blocker, getting guys out of the way. I'm like, yes, boy. Go do this thing, man. Be your man. Be yourself. Don't let anybody intimidate you. You're in the NHL and you deserve every opportunity to be in the National Hockey League. Like all these other guys around you in the NHL, you deserve it just as much as them. So be the man. And I love that attitude. And then you heard him talk on RDS before the game. Believing in thyself. I am not an underdog. And so I believe now, because of what he said on RDS, and you tell me I'm wrong. What do you think about this? So he comes in with like a confident swagger with the numbers to back it up, right? What was he, 9-3-1 in Laval, comes to Montreal, shuts down Florida, is instrumental in the Canadiens coming back to beat Colorado on Saturday. So is that a coincidence, or is that by design? That he got the Florida game, that he didn't get Tampa Bay, that he got Colorado, not Chicago Friday. What do you think about that? I believe strongly in that the Montreal Canadiens put him to the test. And if you've been watching me, listening to me regularly, I am a big buyer of sink or swim. I'm a big buyer of it. Okay, you want to be the man? You want to talk like the man? Here's an opportunity to go be the man. Or show me something that leads me to believe, oh, you got the makeup to be the man. And Montreal Canadiens play on the road at Washington Friday, where Jakub Dobeš and his 2 starts have been on the road, obviously. Florida, Colorado. The Canadiens are in Washington Friday. They're home to the Dallas Stars on Saturday. I think Jakub Dobeš gets the Saturday night game. I think they give him the first home game of his NHL career in front of the fans at the Bell Center who are on their game last night. And Monty gets the Friday Washington game. And then we'll see what happens. That would be my decision. If it were up to me, I think that's how I roll. Hit me up in the comments. Walk me through it. Tell me what you think. Probably Dobeš. Monty gets Saturday night in Montreal. That's the Matthew Blackman. Thank you, Matthew. That's the thing, too. Like, it's a sign of respect, too, that Montembeault is the number 1 goaltender in Montreal. He's the man on the contract. You know, Montembeault is the man in Montreal still. So it's a sign of respect that he kind of gets the home game, but we'll see. Pierre-Luc Lasselle. Good morning, Pierre-Luc. Comment ça va, mon gars? I would ride with the same team all year. We're in the mix, and that was the goal. Playoffs or not, it's a successful season. 100%, I agree. As Matthew Blackman points out, unfortunately, they lose their wild card spot no matter what tonight. I agree, and I mentioned that off the hop. I don't know if you were late, but it doesn't matter. I mentioned that off the hop, that Pittsburgh and Columbus play tonight. Ottawa plays at Detroit tonight. The rest of the week for those teams, so I've decided to keep it in that 4-team window. Pittsburgh, Ottawa, Columbus, and Montreal, all 4 of those teams. Detroit, the Rangers, just a touch further back, so I'm going to leave them alone for now. Um, so you got Pittsburgh and Columbus tonight. Pittsburgh plays Edmonton Thursday. Ottawa and Detroit tonight. Ottawa's at Detroit tonight. And then Ottawa plays Buffalo Thursday. And then Columbus, after they play Pittsburgh, they play Seattle on Thursday. So that's the kind of week. All good. Don't worry if you're late. It's all good. And it's fine. I've been doing this for 45 minutes. I have to refresh and reset some of the things I had mentioned in the first 5 minutes of it all. So yes, no matter what, but it doesn't change the fact that I really feel like a fan again, man. Like I'm so excited that this team is doing what I didn't think they were going to do. I didn't. I was wrong. That I thought it was an audition season. I thought they were trying to rebuild and play competitive hockey at the same time. I wasn't a fan of that. So I was wrong. My read on that was wrong. But on the other side of that, I'm proud to say I always believed in Ken Hughes and Martin St. Louis. I've been very consistent when I drop this line. They are the right men at the right time in the timeline of the Montreal Canadiens. You know, whether MSL is the guy that when they're ready to contend or win a division and go deep in playoff runs, is MSL the man there? To be determined. But in the here and now, Martin St. Louis has always been a winner. He's always been calm, always been composed. And just the fact that MSL had to travel the path that he traveled to turn into the player that he turned into, how can you honestly look at that and say, this guy's a quitter? Remember that columnist, that media type in Montreal? How long ago was that? He's going to quit. He's going to quit. Martin St. Louis is too proud. He's too much of a winner to suffer through this. And you know what I said after that? And you can go look it up. It's here on my YouTube channel somewhere. I said it. Man, you don't even know Martin St. Louis, brother. I don't know Martin St. Louis, but I know enough to know that is not how a guy like MSL is wired at all. At all. These, I'm telling you, guys like MSL that, you know, are the small dogs and have to always punch uphill and have to climb uphill, they embrace challenges because they generally overcome them all the time. And who doesn't want to be the I told you, you doubted me, I told you, who doesn't want to be that person? And MSL has earned the right to be I told you. Pierre-Luc Lasselle, fun to see Ottawa and Montreal have a potential rivalry again. I agree. But let's be honest. I'd much rather have the Boston Bruins than the Ottawa Senators. I love the Montreal-Boston rivalry. I love it. I was watching, there was a clip on Twitter yesterday about Montreal in the playoffs, and it was the fans singing, na 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 na, hey, goodbye. And it was a playoff game. The Habs were up 3-0. Markov was on the ice. Chris Higgins was on the ice. And I was like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it again now. Like Montreal, Boston in the playoffs at the Bell Center. Into my veins, brother. Into my veins. Plume Gaming. Okay, serious questions though. When is Domic becoming the number one? Oh my God. Do we love goaltenders in Montreal or do we love goaltenders in Montreal? Listen, let's be nice. Let's be cool, man. Like, Sam Montembeault is a warrior, brother. This guy was a waiver wire pickup by the Montreal Canadiens. And look, he's one of 3 goaltenders. We're going to see him at the 4 Nations. He made Canada's national team. Like, he deserves some respect. He is the number 1. And competition breeds excellence, and I want to see competition. And let the better goaltender survive. Montreal media has always been unhinged. It's nothing new. Listen, we all have to have a reaction. We always have to have a reaction. But I'm here for this. Whether Pierre-Luc is right, Montreal, Ottawa rivalry is good, the Fat Walrus, who is it, Rafi Diaz? Who is it, 57? Who's that player 57? I remember running into Lars Eller. Who is it? Was it Eric Greiba? Did Eric Greiba absolutely crush Lars Eller? And I was playing golf at this place right there, Kanawaki Golf Club. I was playing golf, and I I was making my turn. I just played the front nine. I was walking to 10, and Lars Eller was coming out of the cart, going to the snack shack we call the Ritz. And so I looked at Lars Eller. He came out of the golf cart, looked at me. I looked at him, and I was like, ah! Bro, his face, man. His face looked like it met a weed whacker. It was like he was all busted up. He's all swollen and everything else. I'm like, dude. We used to call him Larry all the time. Larry, you look terrible. And he's like, this looks so much better. It looks so much better. The vision of that mangled face of his. And that was good times, man. I love that stuff. That was good. Lars Eller was such a nice guy. I'm sure he's still a nice guy, but a sensitive guy, a sensitive guy. I would say I used to watch Brandon Prust. So every now and again, I would have a few Canadians. They'd come play golf. I played golf with Brendan Gallagher. I played golf with Brandon Prust. I played golf with Lars Eller. I played golf with Max Pacioretty. I played golf with Chris Knuckles Nyland. So I've been very fortunate that I get to play with a bunch of guys that, listen, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of the Canadiens. It's my team. It's the one team in my life that I legitimately, truly care about. And, borderline affects my mood depending on how they play, Like, for example, I did a YouTube video after the Canadiens lost to Chicago. And I put the headline, terrible loss. I didn't get very many views. I think a lot of Canadian fans on this channel like positivity more than they like negativity. And then I rewatched the video that I did, about the loss of the Blackhawks. And I was like, dude, you're angry, man. Lighten the bleep up. What are you doing? It's just a loss to Chicago. But all that to say, it's great being able to sometimes interact with some of these players as a huge fan and get to know them a little bit. And if you want, I could go into, I got great stuff on Max Pacioretty, on Brendan Gallagher, and things that we talked about with some of his teammates. But Lars Eller, just to finish this, Lars Eller is just a very sensitive guy. It took him a minute to grow thick skin, and so he's kind of in the second year of his career, and we're on the range at Kanawaki. We're all hitting balls. We're all next to each other a little bit. I'm not saying much because those are the boys, I'm just there, and just kind of hanging around, observing, listening, laughing, getting ready for our tea time. And Brandon Prust is next to me. He goes, look at this. And Lars Eller. So if Brandon Prust is on over here, I'm in the middle. Eller's over there, right? So I'm in the middle of these two guys. And Prust just keeps busting. I keep calling him Larry. Keeps busting up Lars Eller. Larry, your hair. Oh my God, Larry, your hair. Look at those calves, Larry. Just going after him. Ribbing. Light ribbing, And I think at one point, Lars just put his head down, tucked his chin to his chest, and just left. Borderline dejected, Borderline dejected. And the boys laughing because they got to him. They won that game, I suppose. But that's just the life. Playing with these guys, it's a lot of fun. I love it. Fun fact, Sean, I used to be the plumber for the golf course. Is that right? The plumber for the golf course? We had a plumber on staff, on payroll at Kanawaki. I'm not so sure. I love that golf course, though. I love that golf course. I know this is a Habs show, but can we get what's in the bag one day? Now, wait a minute now. I caught some guy on my stream the other day who was like, this is a hockey show. What do you got a golf bag over there for? Why is your dog over there? At least that's how I read that person's voice when I read commentary like that, I'm like, bro, I got a golf bag here. I got my dog. That dog is dead. He died 3 years ago. I love my dog. Somebody sent me, that's a listener. He sent me that painting. He had an artist commission a painting of my dog. So dogs and golf are a passion of mine, That's why the Titleist bag is there. So, I don't mess around with golf. I really don't. I take golf way too seriously, and I'm not good enough to take it that seriously, even though I'm a 3 handicap. But nevertheless, if you seriously want me to do a what's in the bag, because behind this bag here are 2 other golf bags filled to the brim with golf clubs. Filled to the brim. Wedges, irons, old irons. I got drivers out the wazoo. You know what I was thinking of? Maybe I'm going to start giving away drivers. Like literally, here, you win. You want a Sim 2? You want a PXG Black Ops? What's this one? What's this one here? Look at this one. What's this one? Look at this. This is a Titleist 917 D2. I don't even know how long I've had this for. And guess what? I just put a new grip on it. I'm mental. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But if you want me to do what's in the bag golf stuff, man, like for sure. No problem. I'm happy to do what's in the bag. My handicap is mental. So is mine. So yeah, I'm happy to do a what's in the bag, and I'm happy to do golf content because, like it or not, when this Montreal Canadiens season comes to an end, whenever it comes to an end, I will be, and are you ready for this? This is a little bit of breaking news, okay? If this is a little bit of breaking news. When the Montreal Canadiens season ends, and I will stop doing Canadiens content because it's the off season, I am going to be taking you to the golf course with me. So I am my plan. Oh, excuse me. My plan in the early blushes, once the summer rolls around, is to keep the channel going. And I'm going to get some wireless mic technology. Have you noticed that my stream is a million times better? The picture, the quality, the consistency. It's so much better. Like, I struggled for a while here before I finally got the upgrades I needed to get over the holiday period. So I'm very happy, and I hope you're enjoying the quality of this broadcast and the broadcast to come. But ultimately, I'm going to get some wireless mics. I want to do maybe 3-hole, 6-hole challenges, 9-hole challenges. I'd like to have a couple of guests on that we could play golf challenges together, but not 18 holes. Like, we're not going to suffer through 18 holes because I have to come home and I have to edit it and put it together, and that's going to take up time, and I'm kind of lazy. So that's the vision of where I see this going. And now if people tell me that they love that and they're very excited about that, it will get me even more energized and even more motivated to do that content for you. So that's kind of where I'm at. Rick Springhetti says my handicap is golf. We should do a little bit more focus on bocce ball. Now there's a niche of a niche. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for watching me and being a part of the stream today. I went an hour. It's 57 minutes deep. It's 57 minutes deep on this bad boy, and I'm here because of you. So thank you so much for... wait a minute. If you need someone to film it... No! Dis-moi pas, mon gars. Es-tu sérieux, Pierre? Es-tu vraiment sérieux, là? Vraiment. Je te jure, là. Es-tu sérieux? Because... I am a one-man show. I'm doing all this editing. Everything I do, it's all on me. And I have thought about, I don't even know I even thought about, like, can I hire somebody? And I have to build a relationship with someone because, like, we're going to be filming this, editing it. It's my vision with your expert editing skills. But I am not afraid to admit that I'm going to need help. And that help doesn't have to be for free. As this channel is growing, I have monetized YouTube. It took me 3.5 weeks to monetize my YouTube channel. And I don't care. The money is not why I do this. I mean, it's literally like a few bucks. I don't give a bleep about the money. I have a full-time job, so I'm all right. I do this because I love it, and I do it because I love interacting with sports fans in Montreal and beyond. For me, it's very, very fun and entertaining, and I have this hour has flown by, but I'm not shy to say that I need help. If I'm going to take this bad boy out to the streets, as they say, because, there are other things I'd like to do, and one of those, as I mentioned, is golf content. So, Pierre, my email is theshaunstarshow@gmail.com. The Shaun, S-H-A-U-N, star, S-T-A-R-R, show@gmail.com. Send me an email. Let's hook up. Let's talk. And let's see what's up. theshaunstarshow@gmail.com. Okay? Deuce, I remember the Sean Toastar days on Melnick. Brother, that's like a 20-year-old reference. That's how old you and I both are. Pierre says, I have a side business. Always small video. Oh, okay, great. So, yeah, let's get it going. Thank you, everybody, for all your loyalty. Joe the Snoop, it's almost 4 a.m. Joe, go to bed. You deserve it, okay? Thank you so much for watching and being a part of this. I couldn't do it without you. Have a great Tuesday. Stay tuned tomorrow. I got stuff on Juraj Slafkovsky's season. It's not as bad as you think, okay? Thanks for watching, everybody, and we shall see you soon.